So what is financial freedom? And by the way, I believe it's different for everybody, but there is one common denominator. Financial freedom is to do what you want, at least in my opinion, when you want, how you want, with who you want, without any time or financial constraints. So you can make $1 million a year or 100,000 a year, either one of those 10 million, 100 million, if in fact you could do what I just mentioned, that is financial freedom, at least as far as I'm concerned. Today, we're going to talk about, are you budgeting your way to becoming broke? Because I believe that if you're stuck inside that box, I'm not saying savings is not a good idea. The real question is how are you positioning and moving your money around? And we're going to get into some deep thought about what that looks like and maybe some strategies that you can think about on how to be able to get ahead and understand how to really truly achieve that financial freedom through financial maps, strategies, and modalities. Why budgeting can actually crush your finances. Now, I think when it comes down to budgeting, we have fixed expenses and we also have variable expenses. The real question is, you could be budgeting, but if your variable expenses are out of control, you're kind of running east looking for a sunset. So what does your expenses look like? What does your debt to income ratio look like? What does your preferred debt versus non-preferred debt look like, and how that impacts not only your mindset, but also how your money performs? Because if we budget right away, we're going to stay in a spot where all of a sudden it's kind of like a scarce ceiling mindset. You're not thinking with an abundant viewpoint on certain things and how to be able to take advantage of opportunities that could come your way that you may feel a sense of fear to go after only because it's not within your quote unquote budget. How do you increase your budget? Is it because you get a raise or because you're working overtime? When you increase it, what do you do? How do you reduce it? How do you decide on what you're going to buy? How do you figure out what fulfillment looks like when it comes to your money, time, freedom? And this kind of goes back to understanding what are your wealth wounds, what has been handed down to you, can you survive economic success without really addressing some of your financial fears that have taken place, whether it's through your own experience or handed down. Really important questions, and I think that as we dig deep into this, you want to be able to understand what that actually looks like. It's been my experience that if you're not careful, budgeting can create a scarce mindset versus an abundant mindset. What is a scarce money mindset? Well, it could be that you made an investment that didn't work out, or it could have been handed down to you. This is not evil or bad, but what it is, at least in my opinion, is it's a limiting belief. Do you actually understand the tax code, and do you understand an accountant versus a tax planner when it comes to strategically positioning your dollars? And by the way, in your budget, are you including a 401k contribution? Or does your budget come after the 401k contribution? What does it look like? What are you budgeting for? Are you double paying on your mortgage? Are you saving money in a bunch of different buckets, but these buckets aren't communicating with each other? If you're not careful, your money won't stay in motion. It won't move in and out of asset classes. And by not moving in and out of asset classes, it's exposed to taxes, inflation, lost opportunity cost, lawsuit, and many other wealth eroding factors that are out there. So the question is, how do you get to an abundant mindset? Well, here it is. I think that if you have wealth wounds, or let's call it sudden wealth. What is sudden wealth? It could be an inheritance. It could be hitting the lotto. You could be a young person that becomes a professional athlete. Sudden wealth, if not corrected, can create so much chaos because all of a sudden you have money coming to you that came out of nowhere seemingly, and you emotionally weren't responsible for that. So what we stand for is the mental health side, to make sure that you understand who you are when it comes to money, what was handed down to you. So as money comes your way, think of Ed Milet when he talks about economic temperature or financial temperature, you want to make sure that you actually deserve that money, at least in your heart, and you know it, and you deploy it in a way that creates not only massive opportunities for you in a good way, but also helps make the world a better place. If you can think like that, you will go from a scarce to an abundant mindset. Remember, it's important to deal with your wealth wounds, and it's important to deal with what you feel about money from what was handed down or based on your own experiences. So a lot of times people are going to say, Rob, what are you talking about? What am I going to do when I retire? I'm not going to have any money if I don't budget and save. Well, okay, I'll play with that a little bit. So if you're 30 years old, you're going to save all this money to get to 65 to do what? Because retirement, if you look at the statistics, if a grown man retires and stops working, go check it out. They're dead within 5 years. So you're going to save money into a plan for 30, 20, or 15 years just to die 5 years later. And by the way, get taxed on that money? No. Here's what we're talking about. You could budget and you could save, but you could also, during your wealth accumulation phase, save this money and deploy it into other asset classes outside of a 401k. So now all of a sudden, while you're in that wealth accumulation phase, your money's working for you. So when you do get to retirement, yeah, you can be at the water cooler with everybody else and have a 401k, but you'll also have these other assets working for you. Some of them have structured the right way. And go ahead, by the way, go ahead and click that link below for the Epic Financial Freedom Map. It's going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. It's not so much what your destination is. We all know the destination, financial freedom. It's going to talk to you about where you are, be honest where you are, and how to get to that destination. So my point is, during that wealth accumulation phase, you should be buying alternative investments that are giving you 4 different rates of return, whether it's real estate or other investments that are out there. So during this time, when you're at your peak physical performance, as your economic brain catches up to you, you're going to begin to multiply money because of the discipline of understanding asset classes and moving money in and out of that. So now let's talk about what the wealthy do. They're right down that block, right over. And by the way, I'm here to tell you what the wealthy do because I have all their trade. They invite me to their parties, but I am middle class. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, twice on Sunday. I can't wait to give you their trade secrets, not only from a tax perspective, but also how to view money and how to make money work for you, not from resources, but by being resourceful and understanding you could use other people's money if you come up with great ideas. Now, all this stuff I'm saying sounds great, but you're like, Rob, how are we going to measure this information? Well, check it out. Once again, go ahead, click the link below for the Epic Wealth Builder. What that is a measuring tool of money in, money out, expenses, what they look like, your fixed versus your variable expenses. Are all your financial institutions on the same page so you could aggregate the information and take a deep look and measure at all times what's going on with your money? Because what the wealthy do is they know exactly where their money is, and guess what? When they put money or opportunities into other alternative investments, sometimes they don't even write a check. They're so smart on how to sell or how to create opportunities, they'll go into a company and say, okay, listen, I'll give you my sales training. I want 50% of profits and I own 10% of the company going forward. That's being resourceful, right? Or they'll come up with a great idea and have other people invest in that great idea, but they'll execute on making it happen. You could do the same thing. The question is, how are you going to measure this stuff? How are you going to hold everybody accountable, all the different financial educators, so they're all on the same page for the benefit of your thinking, not their thinking? And I always say this, and Parker laughs, if you call your financial planner, agent, attorney, fiduciary, and they get annoyed because you're calling too much, what do, Park?
Fire them.
Fire them. Fire them if they get annoyed. They don't deserve your money. If they get in your house, they'll rob your jewelry. So what I like to say is pay yourself first versus budgeting. But pay yourself first is just a holding tank, right? And we always want to get to the place at some point where we're saving or paying ourselves first 20% of our gross monthly income. When you get to that place, and by the way, if you're crushing it after that, continue to add more to that, save it there, and then deploy it through alternative strategies where the wealthy folks, what they do is they buy assets that produce income and cash flow. They buy assets that are appreciating, that provides tax benefits. Even if they're going to buy an expensive car, they understand that that expensive car is not going to pay their rent or increase their let's say their net worth, that it is a depreciating asset. So they have different strategies on how they look at those luxury items. But make no mistake about it, wealthy people with integrity, wealthy people with a game plan, wealthy people that are looking to make the world a better place, yeah, they'll own the Mercedes and the Teslas and maybe some private jets, but they're also part of nonprofits. They're also moving the needle and giving people jobs. They're also doing things that provides education outside of the box that makes the world a better place. So if you think like the wealthy, you become the wealthy. And by the way, don't forget about the middle class. Because the person that comes from the middle class and becomes wealthy and forget about the middle class, they're going to wind up in the middle class all over again because they didn't learn anything. They didn't deal with their mental health issues. They didn't deal with their wealth wounds. And by the way, we could teach you how to make money, but we could also show you how to survive that money. We got a book coming out late in June called Surviving Success. Surviving Sudden Wealth and Overcoming Wealth Wounds. This book is not going to just be about how to create opportunities with your money and get multiple uses, but it's going to be able to show you how to survive it. And it's also going to be able to show you how to deal with the wealth wounds that are present in almost everybody. Because if you think about it, last year when people started buying Bitcoin and cashing in their 401k and their IRA, they are now feeling the pain of that. And that could be the greatest gift that they go through. You could have sold $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 IRA just to buy Bitcoin, and you could be real sad and you could feel really bad about yourself. Guess what? Get off the canvas. Understand that you took an irrational shot. Don't blame anybody else, but that doesn't mean you can't come back and come back even better or stronger. America is based on redemption stories. Let your story be the next redemption story. So check it out. Check out a bucket with holes in the bottom of that bucket. You're going to dump water in there. That's your money. The holes are taxes, lost opportunity cost, fees, lawsuits, divorce, all of these things that the divorce is in your control, but the other stuff isn't, right? So how do you cover the leakage in the bucket? What do you do to make sure that the money is not flowing out the bottom, but it's flowing out the top so you create another bucket? Well, you have to make sure, we just went over a bunch of different things. Number one, what does your Epic Wealth Builder look like and who's on the Epic Wealth Builder? Is your accountant on there, and does he or she speak with your fiduciary? Do they speak with your insurance agent and your trust officer, right? So it's not just about recapturing these lost opportunity costs, but it's also what is the game plan going forward? If I'm going to disrupt somebody's pattern economically, emotionally, physically, I have to gain leverage first. Once I gain leverage, I could disrupt the pattern. But if I disrupt the pattern, what happens next? Well, we have to create an alternative solution, right? So what is the alternative solution to everything I'm saying? Number one, get all the planners on the same page. Number two, monitor and measure it weekly, monthly, yearly. If you do that and you stay the student at all times and you're paying yourself first, no matter what economic cycle we're in, like right now it's winter and it's a recession, no matter what one we're in, you will be able to purchase things on discount. And oh, by the way, if you're overfunding a cash value life insurance plan, that's allowing you these guarantees and it's allowing you to leverage that money in and out of other asset classes, which is producing not only cash flow, but tax benefits, and it's increasing your net worth overall because you have different assets being purchased off the same dollar, making multiple rates of return. Well, guess what? You just created a family bank. You just created your own bank, and you just created opportunities that allow you to live the life that you want to live, which is ultimately financial freedom. Anyway, thanks for checking us out. Go ahead, click that link below. One of the team members here at Epic, no obligation. One of the team members here at Epic will sit down, will show you not only the map, not only the Epic Wealth Builder, but also our success action steps on how you could achieve financial freedom and you can live the life you deserve economically, emotionally, financially, and romantically. Anyway, thanks for checking us out.